I have not read through this. I legitimately just finished writing the parts that I was writing. And so we're going to go through this. This is the next part of my Revelation 19 study. This is part 2. So if you haven't checked out part 1, I would encourage you to do that first. But as always, hope you enjoy. So we're going to start about the 6th page or so into this study. It's on page 537. And this will be my proofread. I'm not sure if I will change anything as I go, but this helps me understand how things sound, if I need to change wording, if I need to add more, delete some, whatever. But this helps me, and I know it helps you guys also, because then you can listen along. So, Revelation 16 wrapped up the judgments of the 70th week with the unparalleled earthquake that will see Jerusalem divided into 3 parts and fell the cities of the nations. It also brought Babylon into remembrance to be destroyed, which will have just occurred in Revelation 18. Thus there is much acclamation and praise heard in heaven for the righteous judgment of the evil city. The first 4 verses of the chapter told us that all the inhabitants of heaven will be celebrating this demise, then reiterating said celebration. Verses 5 and 6 also contain a celebration, but there's a different topic in view for that. So before we get to that different topic, note the use of the phrase much people in verse 1. This means those praising are one body with one accord. And we've talked about this in the past regarding Gog and Magog, how it's the unifying event to bring Israel back to one for the purpose of being dealt with as one by God, like they were historically. It's not a many people, it's a this people, not these people, it's a this people. It's always a corporate entity. And so it's interesting to see in Revelation that the heaven dwellers, which would include us and those who were redeemed 6th trumpet, the heaven dwellers in Revelation are called much people because it's one body with one accord. So it's just kind of interesting that that language also does apply to us in heaven, having been redeemed from the earth. Anyway, thought I'd point that out. So after these things, I heard a great voice of much people, a great voice. So they're all in one accord, saying, Alleluia, salvation and glory and honor and power unto the Lord our God. For true and righteous are his judgments, for he hath judged the great whore which did corrupt the earth with her fornication, and hath avenged the blood of his servants at her hand. And again they said, Alleluia, and her smoke rose up forever and ever. And the 24 elders and the 4 beasts fell down and worshipped God that sat on the throne, saying, Amen, Alleluia. Alleluia is an expression which means praise the Lord. In the verses above, we see the great voice of the body of Christ in heaven, presumably combined with those who will have been redeemed from the earth during trumpet 6, praising and worshiping the Lord for his righteous judgments. The reiteration of this praise comes from the 24 elders and the 4 beasts. The next verses contain a change in tone of the celebration, for it is guided by the Lamb himself. This is because the event being celebrated is altogether different and will involve the Lamb's wife. Revelation 19:5 and 6. And a voice came out of the throne saying, Praise our God, all ye his servants, and ye that fear him, both small and great. And I heard as it were the voice of a great multitude, and the voice of many waters, and as the voice of mighty thundering, saying, Alleluia, for the Lord God omnipotent reigneth. The one who sits on the throne is the righteous judge. The righteous judge from Revelation 4 is also the worthy lamb from Revelation 5. It was as the worthy lamb he commenced the 70th week by opening the sealed scroll in Revelation 6 and 8. As we well know, it is also as the worthy lamb that he offers his new covenant to all who believe in him. Hebrews 9:13. For if the blood of bulls and of goats, and the ashes of an heifer sprinkling the unclean sanctify to the purifying of the flesh, how much more shall the blood of Christ, who through the eternal Spirit offered himself without spot to God, purge your conscience from dead works to serve the living God? And for this cause he is the mediator of the New Testament, that by means of death, for the redemption of the transgressions that were under the first testament, they which are called might receive the promise of eternal inheritance. For where a testament is, there must also of necessity be the death of the testator. For a testament is of force after men are dead, otherwise it is of no strength at all while the testator liveth. But now once in the end of the world hath he appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. In Hebrews 10:5, Wherefore, when he cometh into the world, he saith, Sacrifice and offering thou wouldest not, but a body hast thou prepared for me. In burnt offerings and sacrifices for sin thou hast had no pleasure. Then he said, Lo, I come to do thy will, O God. He taketh away the first, that he may establish the second. By the which will we are sanctified through the offering of the body of Jesus Christ once for all. And every priest standeth daily ministering and offering oftentimes the same sacrifices, which can never take away sins. But this man, after he had offered one sacrifice for sins forever, sat down on the right hand of God, from henceforth expecting till his enemies be made his footstool. For by one offering he hath perfected forever them that are sanctified. Whereof the Holy Ghost also is a witness to us, for after that he has said before, This is the covenant that I will make with them after those days, saith the Lord. I will put my laws into their hearts, and in their minds will I write them, and their sins and iniquities will I remember no more. Now where remission of these is, there is no more offering for sin. Throughout our study of Revelation, we have learned that Israel will go into the 70th week on account of her faithlessness. Specifically, we have learned that she will go into the 70th week on account of her blindness that was cast as a result of her faithlessness. She will return to an old Mosaic covenant that cannot save her. At the midpoint of the 70th week, she will be forced to part with that covenant and flee Jerusalem to spare her life. For the second half of the 70th week, the remnant will be preserved in Basra. There they shall run to and fro, and knowledge will be increased. This points to the lifting of blindness, which was prophesied to be cast and lifted in Isaiah 29. Starting in verse 10. For the Lord hath poured out upon you the spirit of deep sleep, and hath closed your eyes. The prophets and your rulers, the seers, hath he covered. And the vision of all is become unto you as the words of a book that is sealed, which men deliver to one that is learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I cannot, for it is sealed. That's a reference to the book of Daniel, which is a sealed book. And the book is delivered to him that is not learned, saying, Read this, I pray thee. And he saith, I am not learned. Wherefore the Lord said, For as much as this people draw near me with their mouth, and with their lips do honor me, but have removed their heart far from me, and their fear toward me is taught by the precept of men. Therefore, behold, I will proceed to do a marvelous work among this people, even a marvelous work and a wonder. For the wisdom of their wise men shall perish, and the understanding of their prudent men shall be hid. Woe unto them that seek deep to hide their counsel from the Lord, and their works are in the dark. And they say, Who seeth us, and who knoweth us? Surely your turning of things upside down shall be esteemed as a potter's clay. For shall the work say of him that made it, He made me not? Or the thing framed say of him that framed it, He hath no understanding? Is it not yet a very little while, and Lebanon shall be turned into a fruitful field, and the fruitful field shall be esteemed as a forest? And in that day shall the deaf hear the words out of the book, and the eyes of the blind shall see out of obscurity, and out of darkness. The meek also shall increase their joy in the Lord, and the poor among men shall rejoice in the Holy One of Israel. Isaiah, while discussing the casting and lifting of blindness, does not specifically state when it was to be cast or when it will be lifted. Jesus and Paul both clarify this in the New Testament. We learn in Luke 19 that blindness was cast over Israel because they knew not the time of their visitation being the king coming to bring the kingdom on triumphal entry day. Luke 19:41, when he was come near, he beheld the city and wept over it, saying, If thou hadst known, even thou, at least in this thy day, the things which belong unto thy peace, but now they are hid from thine eyes. For the day shall come upon thee that an enemy shall cast a trench about thee, and compass thee round, and keep thee in on every side, and shall lay thee even with the ground, and thy children within thee, and they shall not leave in thee one stone upon another, because thou knewest not the time of thy visitation. Save for a remnant according to the election of grace, the rest of Israel will continue to be spiritually blinded until an end point. Romans 11:7, What then? Israel hath not obtained that which he seeketh for, but the election hath obtained it, and the rest were blinded. According as it is written, God hath given them the spirit of slumber, eyes that they should not see, and ears that they should not hear unto this day. And David saith, Let their table be made a snare and a trap, and a stumbling block and a recompense unto them. Let their eyes be darkened, that they may not see, and bow down their back alway. I say then, have they stumbled that they should fall? God forbid. But rather through their fall, salvation is come unto the Gentiles for to provoke them to jealousy. The end point of that blindness is prophesied later in Romans 11, starting in verse 25. For I would not, brethren, that you should be ignorant of this mystery, lest you should be wise in your own conceits, that blindness in part is happened to Israel until the fullness of the Gentiles be come in, and so all Israel shall be saved. As it is written, there shall come out of Zion the deliverer, and shall turn away ungodliness from Jacob. For this is my covenant unto them when I shall take away their sins. The fullness of the Gentiles was discussed in our study of Revelation 14, for it relates to the treading of the winepress. Below is our discussion from that study. Indeed, the distance from Basra, where the remnant will be preserved, to where the final battle will occur is 1,600 furlongs. This is the distance that Jesus will fill with the blood of his overcome enemies. We will explore this further in our study of Revelation 19. However, it is in Joel 3 where we come to understand that another name for the treading of the winepress is the fullness of the Gentiles. In other words, the treading of the winepress is Gentile wickedness filled to capacity. Rather, it's Gentile wickedness filled to overflowing. Joel 3:9. Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war, wake up the mighty men. Let all of the men of war draw near, let them come up. Beat your plowshares into swords and your pruning hooks into spears. Let the weak say, I am strong. Assemble yourselves and come, all ye heathen, and gather yourselves together round about. Thither cause thy mighty ones to come down, O Lord. Let the heathen be wakened and come up to the valley of Jehoshaphat, for there will I sit to judge all the heathen round about. Put ye in the sickle, for the harvest is ripe. Come get you down, for the press is full, the fats overflow, for their wickedness is great. Multitudes, multitudes in the valley of decision, for the day of the Lord is near in the valley of decision. The sun and the moon shall be darkened, and the stars shall withdraw their shining. The Lord also shall roar out of Zion, and utter his voice from Jerusalem. And the heavens and the earth shall shake, but the Lord will be the hope of his people and the strength of the children of Israel. The fullness of the Gentiles is wicked Gentile judgment, leading to physical Israel salvation. Note that Israel will only be saved physically because she will have just been saved spiritually. This is the context of Joel 2, which we will visit shortly. But at this juncture, suffice it to say that the salvation of Israel is indeed the specific cause for the celebration in Revelation 19:5 and 6. And we solidify the truth of that in the next several verses. Revelation 19:7. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, and his wife hath made herself ready. And to her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. He saith unto me, Right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of God. We should understand from New Testament references that Jesus is the bridegroom, and believers in the present dispensation are his bride. If you are unclear about this, please revisit the letters to the churches of Philadelphia and of the Laodiceans. While the bridegroom/bride terminology is reserved for us, the husband/wife terminology is reserved for God and Israel. Indeed, the Old Covenant was a marriage covenant between God and Israel, one that she broke. Let us review a little history to catch us up to speed. The division of Israel occurred in the years following the reign of Solomon. The northern kingdom led by Jeroboam was composed of 10 tribes, and the southern kingdom led by Rehoboam was composed of 2 tribes. We read of this in 2 Chronicles, chapter 11, verse 1. And when Rehoboam was come to Jerusalem, he gathered of the house of Judah and Benjamin 180,000 chosen men, which were warriors, to fight against Israel, that he might bring the kingdom again to Rehoboam. But the word of the Lord came to Shemaiah, the man of God, saying, Speak unto Rehoboam, the son of Solomon, king of Judah, and to all Israel in Judah and Benjamin, saying, Thus saith the Lord, ye shall not go up, nor fight against your brethren. Return every man to his house, for this thing is done of me. And they obeyed the words of the Lord and returned from going against Jeroboam. Rehoboam dwelt in Jerusalem and built cities for defense in Judah. Judah and Jerusalem, otherwise stated as Judah and Benjamin, belong to the house of Israel. The remaining tribes belong to the house of... I think I probably read that wrong. Judah and Jerusalem, otherwise stated as Judah and Benjamin, belong to the house of Judah. The remaining tribes belong to the house of Israel. According to Jeremiah 3, God gave the house of Israel a bill of divorce for her idolatry. He did not do the same for the house of Judah. Jeremiah 3:8. And I saw when for all the causes whereby backsliding Israel committed adultery, I had put her away and given her a bill of divorce. Yet her treacherous sister Judah feared not, but went and played the harlot also. That God preserved his covenant with Judah was not because of great faithfulness in the house of Judah. No, the southern kingdom was not any more faithful than her northern counterpart. Even so, God preserved the covenant relationship with those 2 tribes. Why so? Because a house divided against itself cannot stand. God will eventually redeem all of believing Israel through Jesus. So he did not separate himself from Judah. Jesus was to be born of the seed of David and to the tribe of Judah. This is the reason we see Israel being referred to as God's wife in Revelation 19. Furthermore, the location of said verses within the sequence of end times events precisely pinpoints when faithless Israel shall become faithful. She shall be brought into new covenant relationship with her Savior, who is also her husband. Jeremiah 31:31. Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, that I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. But this shall be the covenant that I will make with the house of Israel. After those days, saith the Lord, I will put my law in their inward parts and write it in their hearts, and will be their God, and they shall be my people. And they shall teach no more every man his neighbor and every man his brother, saying, Know the Lord, for they shall all know me, from the least of them unto the greatest of them, saith the Lord. For I will forgive their iniquity, and I will remember their sin no more. God's wife, Israel's salvation, will be her marriage under new covenant to the Lamb, and will come just in time to celebrate the marriage supper as guests with the bridegroom and his bride after they leave the heavenly wedding chamber and return to earth. That is the final step to the ancient Jewish wedding ceremony. Matthew 25:1. Then shall the kingdom of heaven be likened unto 10 virgins, which took their lamps and went forth to meet the bridegroom. 5 of them were wise, and 5 were foolish. They that were foolish took their lamps and took no oil with them, but the wise took their oil in their vessels with their lamps. While the bridegroom tarried, they all slumbered and slept. And at midnight there was a cry made, Behold, the bridegroom cometh, go ye out to meet him. Then all those virgins arose and trimmed their lamps, and the foolish said unto the wise, Give us of your oil, for our lamps are gone out. But the wise answered, saying, Not so, lest there be not enough for us and you. But go ye rather to them that sell and buy for yourselves. And while they went to buy, the bridegroom came, and they that were ready went in with him to the marriage, and the door was shut. Afterward came also the other virgins, saying, Lord, Lord, open unto us. But he answered and said, Verily I say unto you, I know you not. This brings us up to speed on the meaning and intent of the next several verses in Revelation 19. Let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, his wife hath made herself ready. To her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And he saith unto me, Right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, These are the true sayings of God. You may be wondering why Revelation calls Israel the Lamb's wife. After all, he wasn't the Lamb in the Old Testament. In this case, the reference to the Lamb is intended to point us to Passover. Why so? Because the marriage of the Lamb will coincide with the Passover in the kingdom. There are several ways in which we can confirm this, and these confirmations require us to take yet another trip back to the past. In Exodus 19 and 20, we learn the law was given to Israel in the month Sivan. Many people believe the specific date for the giving of the law was Sivan 6, just as it was for the sending of the Holy Spirit on Pentecost in Acts 2. After all, prophecy is pattern. When Moses brought the assembly of Israel to the base of Mount Sinai, the voice, as it were, of trumpets spoke the law. In Exodus 24, we see Moses dedicating the covenant with the blood of animals after the people had consented with one voice to obey God. However, the giving of the law on Sinai and the dedication of the covenant with blood was not where the dispensation changed. Rather, the dispensation changed in Exodus 12. What is referred to as the age of law? In what is referred to as the age of law, the first law given to the children of Israel came before they left Egypt. It regarded the changing of the beginning of months. The second law given to the children of Israel regarded the lambs. Exodus 12:1. And the Lord spake unto Moses and Aaron in the land of Egypt, saying, This month shall be unto you the beginning of months, and it shall be the first month of the year to you. Speak ye unto all the congregation of Israel, saying, In the 10th day of this month they shall take to them every man a lamb, according to the house of their fathers, a lamb for an house. And if the household be too little for the lamb, let him and his neighbor next unto his house take it according to the number of the souls. Every man according to his eating shall make your count for the lamb. Your lamb shall be without blemish, a male of the first year. You shall take it out from the sheep or from the goats. And you shall keep it until the 14th day of the same month. And the whole assembly of the congregation of Israel shall kill it in the evening. And they shall take of the blood and strike it on the 2 posts, the 2 side posts, and on the 2 upper door posts of the houses, wherein they shall eat it. And they shall eat the flesh in the night, roast with fire and unleavened bread, and with bitter herbs they shall eat it. eat not of it raw, nor sodden at all with water, but roast with fire, his head with his legs, and with the purtenance thereof. And ye shall let nothing of it remain unto the morning, and that which remaineth of it until the morning you shall burn with fire. And thus shall ye eat it with your loins girded, and your shoes on your feet, and your staff in your hand, and ye shall eat it with haste. It is the Lord's Passover. For I will pass through the land of Israel this night, and will smite all the firstborn in the land of Egypt, both man and beast, and against all the gods of Egypt I will execute judgment. I am the Lord. And the blood shall be to you for a token upon the houses where ye are. And when I see the blood, I will pass over you, and the plague shall not be upon you to destroy you when I smite the land of Egypt. Nisan 10 in the future would be important to Israel for the same reason. They would be required to once again select the lamb. When Jesus came to Israel, he offered them kingdom. Rather than believe in him and select kingdom entry, Israel rejected Jesus and selected him as the lamb to be sacrificed 4 days later on Passover. Their choice facilitated him going to the cross and shedding his blood for the new covenant, meaning salvation would be made available to all people, not just the Jews. Ephesians 2:16. And that he might reconcile both unto God in one body by the cross, having slain the enmity thereby, and came and preached peace to you which were afar off, and to them that were nigh. Similarly, in Exodus 12, the selection of the lambs on Nisan 10 facilitated the salvation of Israel 4 days later when the Lord passed over and killed the firstborn in all houses not protected by the blood of those lambs. Exodus 12:23. For the Lord will pass through and smite the Egyptians, and when he seeth the blood on the lintel and on the 2 side posts, the Lord will pass over the door, and will not suffer the destroyer to come in unto your houses to smite you. And you shall observe this thing for an ordinance to thee and thy sons forever. And it shall come to pass, when ye shall come to the land which the Lord will give you, according as he hath promised, that you shall keep this service. And it shall come to pass, when your children shall say unto you, What mean ye by this service? That ye shall say, It is the sacrifice of the Lord's Passover, who passed over the houses of the children of Israel in Egypt, when he smote the Egyptians, and delivered our houses. And the people bowed the head and worshipped. And the children of Israel went away, and did as the Lord had commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. The next day Israel was let go. When Israel entered her land 40 years later, the same dates of Nisan 10 and Nisan 14 applied. Israel came up out of the Jordan on Nisan 10 and encamped in Gilgal and the east border of Jericho, thus beginning the sabbatical cycles that would later establish the Jubilee. However, there is a bit more to the story. All male Israelites who had been circumcised before leaving Egypt per the commandment given in Exodus died in the wilderness. Thus the males who had just been bid entry into the promised land had not been circumcised and were required to be in order to partake of the Passover. Thus, as soon as they entered, Joshua commanded the circumcision be accomplished. The 4 days between their entry and the celebration of the Passover were to allow for healing or to be made whole. The Israelites did celebrate Passover, and the following day, Nisan 15, was the last day manna fell from heaven. Circumcision had been given as a statute in order to partake of the Passover in Exodus 12. And this comes from Exodus 12:48. And when a stranger shall sojourn with thee and will keep the Passover to the Lord, let all his males be circumcised, and let him come near and keep it, and he shall be as one that is born in the land, for no circumcised persons shall eat thereof. One law shall be to him that is homeborn, and unto the stranger that sojourneth among you. Thus did all the children of Israel, as the Lord commanded Moses and Aaron, so did they. And it came to pass the selfsame day that the Lord did bring the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt by their armies. In Joshua 5:1, it came to pass when all the kings of the Amorites, which were on the side of the Jordan westward, and all the kings of the Canaanites, which were by the sea, heard that the Lord had dried up the waters of Jordan from before the children of Israel until they were passed over, that their hearts melted, neither was their spirit in them any more, because of the children of Israel. At that time the Lord said unto Joshua, Make thee sharp knives, and circumcise again the children of Israel the second time. And Joshua made him sharp knives, and circumcised the children of Israel at the hill of the foreskins. And this is the cause why Joshua did circumcise. All the people that came out of Egypt that were males, even all the men of war, died in the wilderness by the way after they came out of Egypt. Now all the people that came out were circumcised, but all the people that were born in the wilderness by the way as they came forth of Egypt, them they had not circumcised. For the children of Israel walked 40 years in the wilderness, till all the people that were men of war which came out of Egypt were consumed, because they obeyed not the voice of the Lord, unto whom the Lord sware that he would not show them the land. which the Lord sware unto their fathers, that he would give us a land that floweth with milk and honey. And their children whom he raised up in their stead, them Joshua circumcised, for they were uncircumcised, because they had not circumcised them by the way. And it came to pass, when they had done circumcising all the people, that they abode in their places in the camp till they were whole. And the Lord said unto Joshua, This day have I rolled away the reproach of Egypt from off of you. Wherefore the name of the place is called Gilgal unto this day. And the children of Israel encamped in Gilgal, and kept the Passover on the 14th day of the month at even in the plains of Jericho. And they did eat of the old corn of the land on the morrow after the Passover, unleavened cakes and parched corn in the selfsame day. And the manna ceased on the morrow after they had eaten of the old corn of the land. Neither had the children of Israel manna any more, but they did eat of the fruit of the land of Canaan that year. From the text of Exodus 12, it's clear to see that the age of law did not begin on Pentecost, when the law was given to Israel on Mount Sinai. The laws began to be given in the month of Nisan, relating to the new beginning of months, the selection of the lambs, and Passover, thus facilitating the Exodus. After all, if there were no Exodus, there would have been no Sinai. When Jeremiah wrote about the new covenant in contrast to the old covenant, it was not the giving of the law on Sinai he referenced. Jeremiah 31:31, Behold, the days come, saith the Lord, I will make a new covenant with the house of Israel and with the house of Judah, not according to the covenant that I made with their fathers in the day that I took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, which my covenant they break, although I was an husband unto them, saith the Lord. In the above verses, Jeremiah equates the old covenant which Israel broke with the time when God took them by the hand to bring them out of the land of Egypt, when he was a husband unto them. That occurred on Passover, after the blood of the lambs protected Israel from certain death. When we move to the New Testament, we see the same. The dispensation of the grace of God did not begin on Pentecost. It began with the cross, as did the new covenant on the whole, which was facilitated by the selection of the Lamb. When we bring these prophecies over to the New Testament and the New Covenant, we begin to understand that circumcision of the flesh will not be required to partake of the Passover in the kingdom. Rather, it will be circumcision of the flesh. Circumcision of the heart. Circumcision of the heart. This Israel must certainly undergo. Jeremiah 4:1. If thou wilt return, O Israel, saith the Lord, return unto me. And if thou wilt put away thine abominations out of my sight, then shalt thou not remove. And thou shalt swear, the Lord liveth in truth and judgment and in righteousness, and the nations shall bless themselves in him, and in him shall they glory. For thus saith the Lord to the men of Judah and Jerusalem, break up your fallow ground, and sow not among thorns. Circumcise yourselves unto the Lord, and take away the foreskin of your heart, ye men of Judah and inhabitants of Jerusalem, lest my fury come forth like fire and burn, that none can quench it, because of the evil of your doings. Declare ye in Judah, and publish in Jerusalem, and say, blow ye the trumpet in the land, cry, gather together, and say, assemble yourselves, and let us go into the defense cities. Set up the standard toward Zion, retire, stay not, for I will bring evil from the north and a great destruction. The lion is come up from his thicket, and the destroyer of the Gentiles is on his way. He is gone forth from his place to make the land desolate, and thy cities shall be laid waste without an inhabitant. For this, gird you with sackcloth, lament, and howl, for the fierce anger of the Lord is not turned back from us. And it shall come to pass at that day, saith the Lord, the heart of the king shall perish, and the heart of the princes, and the priests shall be astonished, and the prophets shall wonder. It is here with Israel's circumcision of the heart that we intersect with previously mentioned text from Joel 2, where we learn of the time when Israel will come to faith, along with its chronological nearness to the second coming. Joel 2:11. The Lord shall utter his voice from before his army, for his camp is very great, for he has strongly executed his word, for the day of the Lord is great and very terrible, who can abide it? Therefore also now, saith the Lord, turn ye even to me with all your heart, and with fasting and weeping, and with mourning, and rend your heart and not your garments, and turn unto the Lord your God. For he is gracious and merciful, slow to anger, and of great kindness, and repenteth him of the evil. Blow the trumpet in Zion, sanctify a fast, call a solemn assembly, gather the people, sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and those that suck the breasts. Let the bridegroom go forth out of his chamber, the bride out of her closet. Let the priests and the ministers of the Lord weep between the porch and the altar, and let them say, spare thy people, O Lord. And give not thine heritage to reproach, that the heathen should rule over them. Wherefore should they say among the people, where is their God? Then will the Lord be jealous for his land and pity his people. And then the Lord comes back. Joel 2:19, yea, the Lord will answer and say unto his people, behold, I will send you corn and wine and oil that you should be satisfied wherewith, and I will no more make you a reproach among the heathen. But I will remove far off from you the northern army, and will drive him into a land barren and desolate, with his face toward the east sea, his hinder part toward the utmost sea. His stink shall come up, his ill savor shall come up, because he hath done great things. Be glad then, ye children of Zion, and rejoice in the Lord your God. For he hath given you the former rain moderately, and he will cause to come down for you the rain, the former rain and the latter rain in the first month. The former rain is a reference to Christ, and the latter rain is a reference to the Spirit. Indeed, as we have already discussed, his second coming will most assuredly be in the first month. That the marriage supper of the Lamb is being previewed just prior to Jesus leaving heaven to judge suggests that Nisan 10, the date of his second coming, and the day upon which Israel will select the Lamb, and Nisan 14, the day when Israel shall sup with Jesus in the kingdom, will have the same importance in the future as they did in the past. Jesus essentially told us this himself in Matthew 26 at the Last Supper, which was the Passover meal of Nisan 14. Matthew 26:26. And as they were eating, Jesus took bread and blessed it and brake it and gave it to his disciples and said, take, eat, this is my body. And he took the cup and gave thanks and gave it to them, saying, drink ye all of it, for this is my blood of the New Testament, which is shed for many for the remission of sins. But I say unto you, I will not drink henceforth of this fruit of the vine until that day when I drink it new with you in my Father's kingdom. New wine relates to the new covenant and how Israel will need to be saved in order to participate in the marriage supper in the future. Not only was this truth in view in Matthew 25's parable of the 10 virgins, wise virgins were representative of those who had the Spirit, as wisdom is an attribute of the Spirit. But Luke also relates the same information. Luke 12:35. Let your loins be girded about and your lights burning, and ye yourselves like unto men that wait for their Lord when he will return from the wedding, that when he cometh and knocketh they may open unto him immediately. Blessed are those servants whom the Lord when he cometh shall find watching. Verily I say unto you that he shall gird himself and make them sit down to meat, and will come forth and serve them. Indeed, the celebration of the marriage supper is the last step in the ancient Jewish wedding ceremony eschatology. The marriage of the Lamb is the rapture of the church. The bride and the bridegroom will spend their 7 days in the wedding chamber before leaving that chamber to celebrate the wedding supper with the guests. It is for this reason the prophet showed Jesus leaving heaven with his bride, the saints, and returning to earth. Revelation 17:14b. And they that are with him are called and chosen and faithful. And Zechariah 14:5b. And the Lord my God shall come, and all the saints with thee. Israel was never the bride. Rather, the parables that Jesus related to Israel during his ministry were always of them as the guests. This was to clarify their position within the ancient Jewish wedding ceremony eschatology. Matthew 22:1. And Jesus answered and spake unto them again by parables, and said, the kingdom of heaven is like unto a certain king, which made a marriage for his son, and sent forth his servants to call them that were bidden to the wedding, and they would not come. And again he sent forth other servants, saying, tell them which are bidden, behold, I have prepared my dinner, my oxen and my fatlings are killed, and all things are ready, come unto the marriage. But they made light of it, and went their ways, one to his farm, another to his merchandise, and the remnant took his servants, and entreated them spitefully, and slew them. But when the king heard thereof, he was wroth, and he sent forth his armies, and destroyed those murderers, and burned up their cities. Then saith he to his servants, the wedding is ready, but they which were bidden were not worthy. Go ye therefore into the highways, and as many as ye shall find bid to the marriage. So those servants went out unto the highways, and gathered together all as many as they found, both good and bad, and the wedding was furnished with guests. And when the king came in to see the guests, he saw there was a man which had not on a wedding garment. And he saith unto him, friend, how camest thou in hither, not having a wedding garment? And he was speechless. Then said the king to the servants, bind him hand and foot, and take him away, and cast him into outer darkness. There shall be weeping and gnashing of teeth. No, Israel is not the bride. However, she is the Lamb's wife. Covenanted to be so under Old Covenant. Since Jesus put that covenant away with his death on the cross and payment for sins under it, we simply await the time when blindness will be lifted and she will finally believe. Then Israel will be able to be invited to the marriage supper of the Lamb because she circumcised her heart. The clothing Israel will be given is the same we will be given, as spoken of in the letter to the church in Sardis. to denote overcomers by the blood of the Lamb. Revelation 19:7, and this takes us to the verses we were just going through, and then we will commence study of the next set of verses which see Jesus returning, heaven opened. Revelation 19:7, let us be glad and rejoice and give honor to him, for the marriage of the Lamb is come, his wife hath made herself ready. To her was granted that she should be arrayed in fine linen, clean and white, for fine linen is the righteousness of the saints. And he saith unto me, right, blessed are they which are called unto the marriage supper of the Lamb. And he saith unto me, these are the true sayings of God. So that is as far as I have gotten in my study. I'm going to post this on Academia as an updated version. If you guys have any questions or comments, let me know. But the next verse we're going to go through is one of my favorites. The testimony of Jesus is the spirit of prophecy. What does that mean? And then we shall see him return. So in the meantime, like I said, if you guys have any questions, comments, or feedback, let me know. But I hope you enjoyed. See you later.